Okay.
eye-opening.
Well, hi, I'm Vaughn Karabedian, and I'm here today with some very famous faces of the local community, namely Camino Bowl. And here we have Rex Golobic, who's the current owner of Camino Bowl, Greta Madrigalli, who is one of the faces that people have seen time and time again for many years at Camino Bowl, and also Stan Terry, who also had gone to the bowling alley many, many times over the last few years and is a staple of Camino Bowl. And wanted to have you folks here to talk a little bit about the bowling alley, how things got started, where Camino Bowl maybe came to be, each of your involvement over the years, and as it comes to a close in the next couple of weeks, where are things going to go from there for the city of Mountain View, and maybe for the bowling public, what's in it for them. So Rex, if you don't mind me starting, how did Camino Bowl come to be?
We looked at automatic score or automatic pin setters in 1947 when they were first shown, and we thought, gee, that's great. We can go and have a bowling center someplace besides a downtown area where you could only operate the center because you could get pin boys downtown.
Okay.
So we could move to the suburbs. And my father liked the peninsula, and he liked this area, and he came down and talked to real estate people, and they finally talked to John Gemello, and John Gemello was interested in building a building for a bowling center and leased the property to us, and that happened. It all came together, and we installed the equipment, and Mr. Gemello built the building, and we've had a wonderful relationship with the Gemello family. They're still pillars of the community here, and the Gemello Winery was behind us for many, many years, and recently I had an opportunity to talk to John. I don't know whether he's the second or the third, John Gemello, and asked him what he did, and he said he's professor of economics at the University of California, and his sister was just elected county supervisor in San Mateo County. So it's been a wonderful relationship to work with them.
That's wonderful. About when did this happen? When did all this get started?
Well, we first started talking to him in 1954 and 1955. It took about a year to put the building together and get it erected and opened.
Okay, I see. Now, Stan, you've been a staple of Camino Bowl for quite some time. Does your history with the bowling center go back to when it opened?
Yes, that's about, I can remember the first day that I walked in there from the side door, and Rex's dad met me, and he's the nicest man I ever met. I'm not joking.
That's great.
And I was born in Sunnyvale, 1922.
Okay.
I'm an old prune picker,
All right.
and cherry and apricots. And but they've thousands of hours of enjoyment just going there.
That's wonderful.
Nice, really.
Oh, that's great. Now tell me, Rex, as things got going, probably was maybe slow at first attracting business into the new place, or did things start off with a bang?
Well, it started out, and my dad did something unconventional in a suburban bowling center. He opened 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
And I 10, 15 years ago, I was talking to Mario Gemello one day, and he said, you know, when that place first opened, we used to have to go down there at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because that was the only time we could get a lane. If you can imagine, in the community.
How about that?
Yes, and you know, there was nothing around us. Next door was a little motel, and behind the motel was a nursery, and next to that on the other side was a used car lot. And then there was this enormous big piece of property on the corner that was not occupied by anything, that went all the way from the bowling center over to El Monte, that stayed empty for years and years and years.
Wow.
It was just really surprising, and I was hard pushed to think that we were going to be able to do business all night in a place where it didn't look like there was that much population, but you couldn't get a lane.
Yeah.
So after 2 or 3 years, we added 16 more lanes to it and made it 40 lanes.
Okay.
And it still did a marvelous business. Greta was remarking earlier this evening that she used to really have to work hard because there were
Yeah.
lots of people.
Wow, that's great. Now, yeah, Greta, why don't you tell us, you've been a very familiar face to a lot of the bowlers who would come in and out, whether they be regular league bowlers or the open play bowlers who would come in to have a lot of fun. How did you get involved at the bowling alley?
My next door neighbor wanted to learn how to bowl.
Oh, okay.
So I started talking to the manager, and he liked me, so he asked me if I'd like to work there.
Yeah, all right. And who was that at the time? Who was the manager at that
Dale
time?
Vance.
Okay, all right. Good deal.
No, it wasn't Dale Vance.
No?
Was earlier than that.
Yeah, we had so many managers.
Yeah.
Was it back to time with Dale Ward?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
all right.
Dale Ward.
All right.
Yeah,
Great. Now, was it a 24-hour bowling alley when you worked there too?
24 hours.
Wow. Now, would you work at all hours of the day?
No, I worked days, and then after they asked me to work nights, and I worked nights.
Okay.
And I enjoyed working nights.
Yeah, that's when a lot of the leagues would take place, and you'd probably see a lot of the regulars come in who you would know, wow, this is Monday night, so I've got all these people I know who are coming in, and they would get to know you. You became very popular
yes,
amongst all the bowlers.
We used to have the Nisi League Bowl there, and I used to enjoy their tournaments because I enjoyed all the food they used to bring in. But they had a tournament for what, 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I know they used to be full.
2 weekends.
2 weekends.
2 weekends, all weekend long for the 2 weekends. Wow, how about that? Now,
And you meet a lot of
Yes.
kids. They started in the nursery.
Mhm.
Then they end up coming in with showing me their wife and their children.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. So you've all seen a lot of the community come in, grow up with you, mature with you, and get to know the families, and they've gotten to know you. And that's really wonderful. It's a family bowling center, isn't it?
It
It's a
is,
wonderful
yes.
place to come. Now
You
there's
could
so
bring your children there and not worry about them.
One thing that's unique about the bowling center is that there's many other things to do there besides bowl, and it's a little unique in that there's some other businesses there. And Rex, I've never seen anything like that. Why don't you tell me how the other businesses came to be at the bowling center?
Well, they're really an accommodation, so far as I'm concerned. Today there are lots of proprietors who have decided that the bowling center should be a general recreation center. I'm still into the competitive side of bowling. I still think bowling is our core business, and that we are better off. Yes, we had a billiard room. Yes, we had amusement games, and we had a bar and a restaurant, but those were only so that the bowlers could be accommodated. We really never put our emphasis on anything but bowling.
Okay.
But I think that's what bowling's all about. It's a competitive sport, and it's a great competitive sport. And anybody who plays it as a competitor on a high level can tell the people who don't play it on a high level how difficult it is to go out and bowl 100 games, take a day off, and go out and bowl 100 more in a week. It's a tough go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we were talking before the show came on. We're both PBA members. And for the last number of years, it's been a regular stop for the professional bowlers here on the regional tour to come in and have a tournament each year. And it's one of the larger tournaments of the year, too. How did your association with the PBA get started, and how long have they been coming to Camino Bowl?
Well, we operated a bowling center in San Francisco called Downtown Bowl, and every year my dad was unconventional so far as the bowling people were concerned. He decided he was going to run a bowling tournament in the middle of the summer. So he started a tournament called the July Classic. And the July Classic went on for many years, and we began to draw bowlers from all over the West Coast. And the young man who was our master of ceremonies the night that Camino Bowl opened had this great brainstorm that we ought to run a team tournament called on a Swiss round robin style. And we started running that tournament, and when we did, we got the Strohs to come out from Detroit. We got Buddy Bomar to bring the Jockey Coopers from Chicago. We got teams from all over the country to come, and they congregated. The Budweisers, the great Budweiser team with Don Carter, Dick Weber, Ray Bluth, all those guys came out, and they bowled in our tournament, and they all got together. They bowled all night and played golf all day. And they started talking at that time about forming a professional association, and this was a natural forum because it was a place they all got together in a social way. And I think that we were very instrumental in helping the Professional Bowlers Association be created, just because we brought the guys all together in one place.
That's great. I'm sure over the years there's been a lot of high points that the bowling center has had, and then for you folks individually, and I want you to maybe think back over the years at some of the good memories that you've had and some of the high points, either dealing with the public or with the league bowlers, or incidences that have occurred that have really been wonderful to, and you'd like to share. Does anybody want to start with something that they've come up with?
I'll share something.
Sure.
I lost my son in '79.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And all the bowlers donated money, and they paid for my son's funeral. That's how
Oh my
good bowlers
gosh.
are.
That's wonderful.
They are very good.
Yeah, it's really true, and it's really nice how the community pulled together and helped you there.
They're very good.
Wonderful. How about yourself, Stan? Anything you can recall from your time at the center?
I remember a very good bowler, and he spent a lot of time there. His name was Denny Davis, and he had a barber shop at Loyola Corners.
Oh, yeah.
And once a year, him and Willie Moscone and all those hotshot pool players would have a tournament.
Okay.
Yep. It would last all day.
Yeah? Oh, my gosh.
Well, I
Yeah.
think one of the real stories that Stan ought to tell is about his son. His son was a very high average left-handed bowler, and he had tell him about his problems and what he's done even today as a
He
bowler.
contacted multiple sclerosis about 6 years ago,
Okay.
and we got him a van and a wheelchair lift and hand controls. And then he joined Delta College,
Okay.
a computer school, and he graduated with high honors. And now he's teaching other handicapped kids over there
Oh.
at Delta College.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
We're very proud of him.
Oh,
And he bowled great from a
height.
wheelchair.
Is that
really,
right?
he
Yep.
did.
We
He
sure
did.
did.
Bowled
He went
great
down there,
from a wheelchair.
and they had a ramp. In fact, they had a ramp put in for him
Yeah.
to help get him down on the lanes,
Yeah.
because the chair's so heavy,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
walking down the steps. And he used to go down there, and then he'd lock the chair by the foul line. We'd give him
Okay.
the ball, and he was left-handed. He'd throw the ball down there. He was still throwing strikes sometimes. Not always,
That's great.
but
Well, they always say lefties have the advantage. No matter, if
really
you're
loved-
standing or sitting, it's those lefties can throw
He sure
strikes
loved
more
that
often than the
game.
righties.
Yeah.
Now, Rex, you brought a photo album of yours, and maybe we have some pages we can go to
Okay.
where you can describe maybe some of the scenery or what's happening in those
Okay,
pictures, and
all right.
and relate those to some of your experiences at that time.
Okay.
All
great.
right. So here we have the original sign, I assume, when the house was first built.
Yes.
Does that date back to that time?
That was the sign that, and it was there until Mountain View passed the sign ordinance, and they said, "You're out of business with that sign. We'll give you, you're grandfathered for 2 more years, and then it's gone." And it was, was taken down, so it's gone. And
Is that right?
But it actually was an antique by the time we took it down.
Oh, okay. So
it was out of
served its use
style.
well,
It was
huh?
out of style. Yeah. But the centers have changed their style and so forth. So that the signage certainly is different now. You can't put signs up like Las Vegas can.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, what about this other picture we have here? Looks like a group of gentlemen here in front of a fence. Is this
Oh,
groundbreaking or something like that?
That was a groundbreaking. The gentleman on the left is John Gemello. He was, I've forgotten whether he had, I think he had apricots or prunes. I've forgotten which. He was growing there in that property, and that's my dad with the shovel, and my brother on next to him. And Mr. Gemello was a fine gentleman. Fine gentleman.
That's great. Really good to hear. And here we have another one. Looks like it's within the bowling center. Maybe there's some activity going on there.
Those 2 young ladies were our league coordinators. They were the ones who put the leagues together. And the one on the left-hand side, I think the one on the right-hand side, I think, is Mary Lindley, who was just the president of the California State Women's Bowling Association the last 2 years.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, she stayed in bowling, and now she lives up in Carmichael, up near Sacramento.
By Sacramento?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good deal. And here we're gonna go to another shot if we can get to it. There we go. And this here is a fine-looking automobile. Was that one of your vehicles, or?
No, that was a customer's. What was that? Stand about a 55 Chevy? Is that
I don't
a
know,
Chevy?
but that Ford looks like one we had the further in back of that
In the back
car,
of it, I think
in the
that's a-
parking area.
Yeah, I
One
think
that-
that's a 55
50
Chevy or
something
something
like
like that,
that.
or 55 Ford.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, those were that
remember
was
we-
that
I
was
remember
right
we
at
had
around
one
the
like
time
that.
the bowl was open. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
With the fins, you know, have
Oh,
the
yeah.
fins.
Absolutely. You bet. And here we have a shot. It looks like we got an entertained group of people here looking
that
at a
was
shot.
opening night. That was opening
This opening,
night.
look at the
That-
crowds
Yeah,
on opening
it was a
night.
crowd. You couldn't move. You know, you couldn't if you didn't get in there early. You couldn't get in. It was mob.
And now,
And it was August. It wasn't cool.
now you mentioned that at the time you opened, there wasn't really anything around. You're on one of the
No.
major streets in the area. Did you have to do any promotion, or people just saw it and said, "Hey, this is going to be a place
Well,
to go"?
it was we had a couple of good promotional pieces that were in the Palo Alto Times.
Okay.
And you know, a good-sized page in the Palo Alto Times, but I think the community got to see it through the sign that was out in front of it. It was obvious there wasn't anything to hide the sign. When people drove back and forth, they could see that it was there. And,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. And as I said, you know, you couldn't get a lane till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's fabulous. At that time, were there other bowling centers in the area, or was
there
yours
was
one
a-
of the first ones?
Indian Bowl
Indian Bowl.
in Palo Alto was an 8-lane or 10-lane center, and the
Okay.
next closest center was in San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
Jose
nothing
Bowl. We bowled, my wife and I bowled there, and also Indian Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was really good. You opened up something that really none of the communities in the area had, which was a larger center at that time.
That's right.
Now, sometimes, you know, bowlers go to centers, there's, you know, 40, 50, 60 lanes, more than that in some places, and not too many. At the time you opened, 24, was that considered a pretty large bowling center?
That was the biggest bowling center on the peninsula.
Oh, that's great.
The only other center that was bigger in California at that time was our 40-lane center in San Francisco.
Okay. All right, good. It looks like you needed every single lane.
Yeah.
Later on, you added the 16,
16 more lanes,
16
yeah.
additional lanes. Now it's 40 lanes.
Yep.
Okay. Wow, that's really something. Now, bowling's changed a little bit over the last years. Actually, it's changed quite a bit. What have you noticed, I guess, either amongst the bowling crowd or amongst the centers themselves in architectural design, or perhaps in the different types of entertainment that bowling centers are going to? Anybody can go ahead and jump in there.
Well, we really haven't had any new centers in Northern California, in this area. The newest center that was built is over in Brentwood, and way out in the East Bay, and
Okay.
it really isn't all that different. It's not really. We haven't had any of those centers that I guess they did some remodeling at Oak Ridge Lanes in San Jose, and they
Right.
took out 8 lanes and put in a pizza parlor and so forth, and I have no idea of how successful it was. That's a 60-lane center, so I think they cut it down to 50 lanes.
Okay.
And they have a pizza parlor, and I don't know how successful it was. As I said, we've still stuck to our core business. Our bowling is our business. We think it's a great competitive sport. We're trying to introduce as many young people to it. If there's any difference, and that is the appeals we're making to get the 18 to 35-year-old age group interested. It took us a long time to figure out why we weren't getting any new bowlers, and the reason was there was no place to bowl because the leagues had all the lanes, and the only time that the kids could come in was on the weekends, and so we shut a couple of generations of people really out of the game, because unless you wanted to bowl at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there weren't any lanes available. But now we have lanes available again in the centers, and we're making an effort to get young people into the game. We want to get a lot more young stars coming up in the game.
Sure.
We have to have some of those young people to learn how to throw the new bowling balls that are coming out.
Yeah, the bowling balls have changed quite a bit
Yes.
too. Amongst maybe some of the customers over the time, Greta, that you worked there, have you noticed the crowds getting younger, older, people from within town, people from out of town? Has there been any changes from the time you started until the time you just retired from over there?
No, it seems like everyone, same different ages come in.
Yeah, all right.
Like so now they're using at school for the children. They bring the children to bowling during the school hours, and they use it as PE.
Okay. All
They
right.
never did that before.
Well, that's good. That's good. Getting some of the youth into the game. So it sounds like a really good idea. Stan, how about yourself?
I saw something yesterday that interested me. This lady and this man brought about 10 Boy Scouts in. And the lady at the desk, right away, the 2 lanes that they had, it was near the desk, and she had this little rod with a hook on it, and she went down there and she did something down there, and these, on the gutters,
Right.
these racks came up all the way to the end. They were metal,
Uh-huh.
and it was like for gutter balls, and the balls wouldn't go in the gutter, and the kids had a ball. I watched them for about an hour or more.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
with these new
Yeah.
the new innovation of they used to put in the gutters.
Well, they
So
used
the
to
ball-
put
just a
rubber
roll-
tubes,
Yeah, right,
carpet,
uh-huh.
all kinds of things.
And all she did was go this little hook like that, and the whole thing, the whole 60 feet went raised up,
great.
and then on both sides.
Well, it sounds like a way to improve your average.
Yeah, no, it also helped the kids.
You don't have
They-
any more crying children.
Yeah,
That's
they,
true.
They all enjoyed
That's
it. They was
true.
having a ball.
I mean, you talk
They were
about
Boy
one thing
Scouts.
that's putting a lot of fun back into the sport for the young kids, and I think my first score was 9 when I went to bowl, and it was the most frustrating time. And now you can knock pins down each time.
I was working with the National Bowling Council several years ago, and I was riding with 2 other bowling proprietors, one from Texas and one from Michigan, and we were talking about a focus group that we had just run. And this lady said, you got to do something about those gutters. I took my daughter to bowl 3 weeks in a row before she hit a pin. And we all said, oh my God, lady, we can't believe that. How could you do that? The poor child.
Yeah.
And one of the guys said, well, we can't keep talking about this. We got to do something about it. So he went back to his center and started in trying to figure out what to do about it. And this is the development of what has now called gutter bumpers, and
Or
he
even bumper bowling.
bumper bowling, yeah. And
That's how it started.
he said we can't keep talking about this. We got to do something.
That's great. And I think a lot of times now you'll find when the open play is there, some of the little kids will have parties and they'll have the bumper bowling.
Right.
Well, Camino Bowl has meant so much to the community over the years as a place for people to go to have fun and congregate and have a good time with their friends, meet new people. And as we said, the bowling center is going to be coming to a close very soon. And what's led to the closing of the bowl? Why is that going to happen?
Well, property along El Camino has become very, very desirable,
Yes,
and it gets
has.
more desirable all the time. It'll be like Japan; they'll be selling it by the square inch pretty soon. Anyway, the Gemello family, realized that they could get a lot more money in the way of rentals from the property than we were providing, and I understand that. And basically, as a bowling center, we really don't need to be on El Camino because a lot of our customers come back week after week after week. They know where the place is. We
Sure.
don't need to. We don't get our traffic from signs out in front of the building anymore. So, but at any rate, they decided that they needed to get more money from the property, and
Okay.
we discussed it, and there was no way that we were able to compete. They can do 2 or 3 times as much as we were paying.
Okay.
So 3 or 4 years ago, American Recreation Centers owned a bowling center in the south end of Palo Alto, and they said, either we'll buy you out or you buy us out. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be at Camino Bowl very much longer on the basis of what I hear. Maybe I'll do that. So I bought Palo Alto Bowl, and we you know, in order to have a presence in the community, we'll still be the only bowling center from the other bowling centers in Redwood City, and you have to go all the way through Palo Alto, and then you'd have to go all the way through Mountain View and most of Sunnyvale to come to another bowling center. So we're still going to be a presence in the community,
That's
but
great.
it's not going to be the kind of presence that we had before.
Sure.
Instead of having 72 lanes in the community, then it's now going to be down to 32, but we'll still be here.
Great. So a lot of the bowling people, the league bowlers who have known Camino Bowl over the years as the place to go, sounds like they'll now want to go over to the Palo Alto Bowling Center.
And they are.
Great.
Yeah, some
Right.
will, but you know, some people, you know, after you break a habit pattern, they'll start doing something else. But that's to be expected. What all we hope is that none of them quit. All we hope is that they continue bowling. Whether they bowl with us, it's great if they'll bowl with us. But if they don't, we hope that they'll go bowl someplace else.
Okay.
We don't want them to quit.
Great. Well, there's just a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask, are there any plans for the current property? Do the Gemellos have an idea of what they're going to do with the center?
As I understand it, they now have formed a partnership, and they have a general partner who has had plans drawn, and they're talking about retail space on the first floor. They're going to demolish the building, remove it. Retail space on the first floor and residential above. And that, you know, that was some time ago that I heard that. I haven't seen any plans or anything, so I don't know whether, but it's going to be something like that.
Okay. All right. So sounds like, again, non-recreational related, more retail related.
Right.
And again, the bowlers should probably come down to Palo Alto to continue their entertainment and their bowling there. Now, is there going to be some kind of send-away or closing party for the regulars that have always come by to wish them a thank you for all their business over the years?
Dan, you tell them about it.
They're honoring my son. I know that. Camino Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to come over
Yeah.
from Manteca, and
That's quite a ways.
yeah, it's great.
We're going to have a 2-day party.
Yeah,
And
good.
part of
The
it is
31st
is
and
going to
June
be a
1st.
tournament to honor Stan Terry Jr. and
Wonderful.
Really.
we're going to have 2 or 3 different kinds of tournaments going on.
Good.
We're going to have a barbecue in the parking lot all day, all afternoon on Saturday and Sunday. You know, we're going to have tournaments and open play. We're going to have something for everybody. Lots of things for kids to do. So it's going to be a 2-day party.
Really
on
good.
The last day of May and the first day of June.
Okay, great. And Greta, I'm sure there's a lot of people hoping that you'll be there.
Oh, I sure will.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being with us, the community of Mountain View, and thank you, Rex, so much for your time, and Greta and Stan.
Thank you, Vaughn.
You're very welcome, all of you, and
Pleasure here.
thanks for being here. I'm sure the community as well has appreciated all your efforts in seeing you and coming in and really having a good time as long as the center's been there. And at this time, we'd like to go ahead and call a close to our interview. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again.